Hello comic lovers, welcome to the 8th episode of the Boys comic series. In the previous episode, we saw Tech Knight going for therapy to overcome his lust problem, but the therapy session didn't go very well and the therapist kicked Tech Knight out. After that, to save Ladio from his lust, Tech Knight sent his sidekick Ladio on a tour. On the other hand, Huey and Butcher went to meet Legend, where Legend gave the boys their new mission related to Tech Knight's former sidekicks Swingwing. Now before moving forward, I request you to please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's completely free and it motivates us to create better content for you. Also, if you haven't followed us on social media platforms, please do follow. And if you want to support the channel, you can support us on Buy Me a Coffee. All the links are given in the video description. No one has the in bold right to tell you how to live in bold. If you are gay, then this is right in bold. These lines open up our issue and we see Huey, who is sitting in a cafe reading Swingers comic and also listening to Butcher, saying the repeatedly appearing in bold lines. Huey, irritated by reading it over and over, says why would they even write it like that? It will just irritate the reader with the constant start, stop, you know? In response, Butcher jokes, in bold. Huey continues, I don't know, but I find it really stupid. I mean, gay people obviously get beaten up, and the soups themselves beat them up many times. And then they're writing in these comics that there's no need to worry because the soups are coming to save you. Butcher says, well, that's the point of being a subs, isn't it? Simplify every complicated thing and show it, and keep people as far from reality as possible, because when they see the real world, they'll realize how weird it is. After that, Huey looks at a photograph and says, is this who? Butcher completes it saying, yeah, this is the one the Legend wants us to find out about. He was with Swingwing. Huey says, poor guy, I guess I'll have to get used to seeing stuff like this now. Butcher says, yeah. Butcher goes on to provide details. The deceased's name was Steven Rubenstein, age 18, a student at New York University. He had an apartment in Gramercy but stayed with his mom in the nice part of Yonkers on weekends. Parents are divorced and dad lives overseas. Cause of death was falling from the 6th floor of a building. There's nothing here that points to any conspiracy, so maybe the cops don't want to pay too much attention to this case. Huey says a little sadly, just 18 years old. Butcher adds, but no drug or alcohol addiction history, no medical illness history, no problems in college, and no mention of Swingwing. Huey suggests, so should we go talk to Swingwing then? Butcher says, not a bad idea, but the problem is I don't know where he is now. The old man was right, I'm a little out of touch. Huey says, Steven's friends were interviewed, the biggest one was Drake. Do you think talking to him after 9 years could help us? Butcher says, yeah, could be. Huey informs, it says here he works as a bartender at this place. Butcher says, possible, let's go check it out. On the other hand, Tech Knight seems to be saying to someone named Thomas, think about it again, and then we hear another voice saying, he doesn't need to, Master Robert. I've made my decision. Then we see that Tech Knight, whose real name is Robert, is talking to Thomas, the butler of his house. Tech Knight says, but you've been the butler for the Varnon family for the last 37 years. The butler replies, yes, but I'm sorry, I have to leave now. I can't stay here any longer. Tech Knight tries to persuade him, saying, look, I know about what happened yesterday, but... The butler interrupts him saying, you'll have to speak up a bit, sir. I don't hear very well in one ear. So Tech Knight says again, I promise it won't happen again. I can even pay for his injection. In response, the butler says, no thanks. The butler continues, Master Robert, our gentleman and manservant relationship will continue. I'll prepare your meals, dress you, welcome your guests. Whenever you need me, I'll be there for you. I'll even be your friend. But what I won't do is help you physically assault anyone or unleash your anger on someone without provocation, as you recently did to one of my men. I think my taxi has arrived. Tech Knight tries to stop him saying, Thomas, but... The butler ignores him and says, you don't need to worry. All your secrets are safe with me. Goodbye, sir. And with that, Thomas the butler leaves Tech Knight's house. On the other hand, Butcher and Huey are standing outside a bar. Huey asks, "Is this a gay bar?" Butcher says, "Why do you think that?" Huey says, "I'm not going in." In response, Butcher taunts Huey, saying, "Why, wait a minute. I'm the one who calls them sweeties and other strange names, but I still don't have a problem with them, and you don't even want to set foot in this place? You turned out to be a hypocrite, Huey." Huey replies, "No, that's not what I meant. I'm just a little scared." Butcher says, "Anyway, who's going to tell you the truth there? And who knows, maybe you'll change your mind once you're in there." Huey taunts back, "Yeah, bloody hell." After that, they both go into the bar. Inside the bar, a barman asks them for help, and then they both order a drink each. When the bartender brings their drinks, Butcher asks him, "Thanks, buddy. Do you know anything about a guy named Paul Drake?" The bartender, who is actually Paul himself, says, "That's me." Butcher says, "Oh, what a coincidence. We came to talk to you about Steven Rubenstein." Paul, a little nervous, says, "Sorry, but who are you? You don't seem to be from the police." Butcher replies, "Well spotted. We're from the London CID, which is like the NYPD's detective branch here. We've come in place of some detectives." Paul says, "Okay, like that's true. Why would two Brits be interested in a gay guy who died 6 months ago? There was nothing funny about Steven's death for me. Let me make that clear." Butcher says, "I can understand. Let me tell you the truth. Our American colleagues didn't have much of a clue about what to do with us, and Constable Campbell here felt quite sympathetic towards that boy and thinks we should solve Steven's case. So if we offer you something better, maybe you'll tell us something." Saying this, Butcher gives Paul some money. After taking it, Paul says, "Yes, Constable. Exactly what did you want to ask?" This time, Huey asks Paul, "Well, we wanted to know what you know about swinging." Paul, surprised, says, "This is something new. None of the detectives who came before even mentioned it. But yes, their questions were only about what was apparent to them, because for them, this case was a waste of time and they didn't see any possibility of murder." Huey asks, "So do you know anything?" Paul says, "I don't know. I just felt that Steven was often quite vulnerable, confused, and depressed most of the time." Then someone from the side says that even in a bad condition, which Paul stops him, saying, "Max, but that man goes on to say that he's just giving the officers all the details and doing his job." Then Paul explains, "This is my boyfriend, Max. He has his own opinions about this case." Max, a little angry, says, "Yes, and why not? Because I have to keep an eye on you here every day since Steven was just like you. And look what happened to him. And as soon as I thought this would end forever, he came back to bother us again." Saying this, Max angrily walks out. After this, Paul says, "He's a little older than me, and well, what's the point of telling you this?" To which Butcher says, "We usually see people talking like that when they have trust issues." Paul, smiling, says, "You're testing our chemistry, huh? Yes, he's angry now, but he's not that rude." Huey then asks, "You said he was depressed? Was he suicidal too?" To which Paul replies, No, he just hadn't gone out for a long time. He didn't really say anything special to his friends about it. He was at that stage where we've all been at some point, and it's not fun to go through. I talked to him about it, and that's why he even went to meet for swinging." Huey asks where swinging came from at this time. Paul says that Steven used to read his comics. Maybe you've also heard about him. Huey says yes, we've also read that comic. Paul says he used to come to community meetings. Just like comics, he liked talking to gay people in real life too. And in my opinion, we also liked that we were getting some kind of superhuman response from him. But yes, there was some problem with the other one who couldn't wait to get away from us. Huey asks, "Who was the other one?" Paul answers, "Tech Knight. Swinging used to bring him along many times, but Tech Knight didn't really like going there. Anyway, Steven Swinging wanted to talk to him, but he was always ignored." Huey asks if Swinging is gay too. Paul says he doesn't really understand, but yes, he can definitely say that his personality was just so tiny. Then the scene changes, and we see Tech Knight in his house where he is probably talking to a member of Vote or Payback, and that member tells him that someone told Vought about Tech Knight's many actions, due to which Tech Knight's suspension from Payback has increased, at which Tech Knight gets very angry. And before hanging up, that person also tells Tech Knight that it was not someone else who informed them about his actions, but his own sidekick Gladio told them. On the other hand, we see Huey and MM sitting in a room. Huey asks MM, "Look, you may get angry at my question, but have you ever killed anyone?" MM says, "You're thinking about Blarney, aren't you?" Huey says, "Yes, I can't stop myself from thinking about that." MM says, "Yes, I've killed many people, and yes, even today, the people I killed while in the army keep haunting my mind. I didn't even know them. I just convinced myself that I've been given orders and I have to do this. And the ones I killed while being in the vault, I have no regret for them, because I know the world would be better without those scumbags, and that's why I was happy to kill them." Then MM asks, "Do you want another beer?" Huey says no, and then asks, "Has Butcher ever killed anyone?" MM gives Huey a look and then says, "He too sleeps just fine." Huey goes on to say, "Whenever I try to understand Butcher, he does something again that doesn't seem right to me, like making fun of those people today. He could have talked to them more naturally." To which MM says, "Butcher doesn't hate gays. He doesn't have senseless hatred for anyone. If you want to understand the man, all you need to understand is this." MM continues, "It's a simple calculation. Either you're a problem for him, or you can help him, or he doesn't care about you. He won't hate you just because of who you are or how you are. Whatever he does, it's all according to planning. He doesn't waste time, words, or effort unnecessarily. He doesn't even smile unnecessarily, and I used to hate people like that." Huey asks, "Why?" MM answers, "Where I was raised, that was the mindset. They were weak, disgusting, and bad-looking. But then one day I realized what real hatred is." The scene then changes, and we see Huey and Butcher sitting in a cab, looking at the posh houses in the area. Huey remarks on one of the houses, and Butcher explains that it's in the wealthy Brentchester neighborhood where many rich people live. Huey mentions having read the rest of the comics, but says they weren't that special, just congratulating someone named Swingwing and not much else. Butcher asks if Huey has any ideas where they can find this person. Huey says the comics just had some charity ads, and when he called some of them, they said they just deal with the publisher. Huey adds that Gladio isn't anything special, he just fights people his own size, and that Tech Knight is boring since his identity is kept secret. Butcher agrees, saying the comics don't portray Tech Knight much differently than in real life. It's funny he's been the same all this time without doing anything suspicious or wrong to draw their interest. He's truly boring. The next scene shows Tech Knight in his library looking at books when someone arrives at his gate. He calls for his butler to open it, then realizes he had already left for the day. Tech Knight quickly hides his costume under a carpet and opens the gate himself, revealing Butcher and Huey standing there. That was The Boys Volume 3. Get some Part 2 video. If you liked the video, please like, share, and comment on what you thought of this volume. You can also support us on Buy Me a Coffee. If you enjoy reading the Boys comic, you'll find the correct reading order in the description, where you can buy the Boys comics and get an idea of the correct reading order. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for the latest notifications.